Good evening, everyone. Happy Earth Day, day after Earth Day, I should say, but it's a whole weekend, right? Right, that's great. We welcome everyone, especially those who are with us Zooming. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your Sunday evening with us. Some thank yous to Steve Harley, who is going to share our reflection and helping us celebrate this wonderful Earth Day. And in addition to the icons that are on the welcome table, back over on this table by the door is a phenomenal collection of butterflies that are Steve's. So please, please, please step over, if not during the service, after the service when we're sharing refreshments, and look, it's wonderful. And there's an instruction sheet on how we can be better stewards than we are being right now, for sure. So we thanks to Steve and his family who are here to support him. Beth and Ariel, thanks so much. Peter Moore, our musician this evening. We're thrilled to have him back with us. Catherine is our Zoom director, and Sandy and Donna were our greeters. David and Emily are going to be our tea servers this evening. Sandra, we can't thank you enough for the tasty refreshments. Even though we haven't had them yet, we know from past experience they're going to be just wonderful, as they always are. And we have a new reader this evening. Carol Drum will be our lector. She will be leading us in some of the prayers. As proponents of the principles of creation spirituality for STAR, Earth Day has a special meaning. Just as ecological justice is essential for the sustainability of life on Earth. And it's necessary, it's important, it's imperative because if we wish to pass on both the beauty and the health of creation to future generations, then we need to pay attention, to keep in mind that the universe continues to be fundamentally a blessing, and our relationship with the universe continues that blessing for us, for others, and it should leave us in awe. For those of you who have not been part of a Tranquility with Tea service, there are a number of places in the service where we invite you to participate. Participate if you feel comfortable. If not, just sit and be present with us. Our icon this evening on our welcoming altar is a bug. It's got big bug eyes. And if you haven't had an opportunity to take one of the bug stickers, David and Rita have brought those for us, and we're all bugged up. So heck, what a great way to begin our Earth Day celebration. So we do begin this evening by stepping over to the welcome altar and preparing ourselves for the worship that we will participate in this evening by washing our hands. If you have had an opportunity to do so, just sit and be present with us. If not, now is the time to go to the welcome altar, prepare ourselves for the sacredness of this circle. Will you join me in the call to prayer found in our service sheet? Joining our voices together, we bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome, who are seekers to a new faith, who come to probe and explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome, who enter this place as a homecoming, who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. And just as we have prepared ourselves to enter this sacred space, I now invite everyone to step to the altar to light a candle, which reflects that we are indeed blessing our time together. Please pray with me responsively. Creator God, we always ask
before we thank, for we are asking creatures. We ask for love. And thank you for the love you have inspired in us. We ask to be closer to you, and thank you for our capacity to pray. We ask for your understanding, and thank you for bringing us the light of your presence. We ask for happiness, and thank you for the joy of life. We ask for strength, and thank you for the courage you have given us to hope. We ask for your presence, and thank you for living in our hearts. We ask, and we have already received. Blessed be your name, O God, our Creator. Amen.
My name is Steve Harley, and I'm a, thank you. I'm a retired orthopedic surgeon, but I'm not here tonight to talk about bones and joints. I'm here to talk about a lifelong hobby for me that I became involved in when I was about 18 years old and was gifted a butterfly net by a neighbor. Who was a retired ophthalmologist here in Spartanburg, and he started me on the way. So it's been a hobby that's been going on now for 60 years or so, and one I've greatly enjoyed. I've collected butterflies all over the world. In fact, on all the continents, with the exception of Antarctica, and been in a number of the tropical jungles, although I've never been in the tropical jungle of Vietnam like Dr. Heatherly, when we were talking earlier about how dark it can be under the canopy, the thick canopy of leaves. But I've had a broad exposure to all this thing. And So let me begin this talk. It's not just on butterflies, though. It's on all the insects. The insects, God must have loved insects because, as we all know probably too well, he made many, many of them. In fact, there are trillions and trillions of insects in the world. There have been 1.2 million insects carefully described and scientifically named. 1.2 million bugs. So are there any bird watchers in here? How many species of birds are there, if you had a guess? I don't know the answer to that, but I've heard the number is less than 1,000. But that's still a lot of birds. But at any rate, the insects are extremely numerous in the number of species, and there are felt to be another million that are yet to be described. The insects have. I want to come across with what we're talking about, what an insect is, and what an insect is not. An insect is an invertebrate that has a head, and the head contains, as you know, 2 antennae and 2 compound eyes and 3 small eyes and complex mouth parts. It has a second body part, which is the thorax, and the thorax has the 6 legs attached to it and 4 wings. And it has tiny muscles inside it that actually provide the mechanical force to move all those limbs. And then the final part of an insect body is the abdomen, and it has the digestive organs and also the sexual organs in that third compartment. The reason I'm bringing that up is we're talking about the insects tonight, which is to say, not the spiders. and other creepy crawlies that are out there. We're specifically speaking of insects tonight. The first time you think about the word insect, I think in most people's mind, it's a bad word. You know, it's an unpleasant word. And right off the bat, you might think of mosquitoes, which not only plague us with painful bites, but spread disease. The flies, which are also a great nuisance and source of infectious material. Then there's the dadburn cockroaches. And then if those other things weren't bad enough, they're the termites. And they won't plague you so much personally except for your wallet with what they can do to your house. And then there are the fleas that that are such a problem for the dogs. But those are the bad insects. There are also good insects, and a number of them. They're the butterflies, which are so beautiful and that make such a wonderful ornament. Truly a jewel of nature. And then there are the crickets and the cicadas, which make that wonderful music of a summer's night. You know, that's something that we're all, at least around our house, we've gotten away from largely because we've all got this central air conditioning and the windows are closed. But remember the summer nights when you would hear that wonderful sounds of the insects. It's so restful. Then there are the group, the stone flies, the caddis flies, and the mayflies. These are the ones that the fishermen love so much because they're the natural food of trout, and they try to emulate the insect and tie in their flies. And then there are the bees, which we get honey from, and also a massive amount of pollination. And then lastly, I'll bring up the beetles. And there's the ladybugs, which are a fascinating group in and of themselves, which are actually carnivorous. They eat other small insects. So they're a wonderful thing to have around the house and garden. And then the fireflies, which are another wonderful thing we have in the summertime. But all of these things are mainly aesthetics. The big importance of insects is in the fact that they provide pollination of 40% of all the food consumed by man. 40%, that's a lot. And some crops cannot be harvested at all without insect pollination. For instance, apples and almonds and blueberries and cherries and Spartanburg County peaches must have insect pollination. So, and the bugs themselves, their bodies are an important food source for the bird watchers. Birds have a heavy diet of insects, and they also provide nourishment for other animals. So let's get down to the insect apocalypse itself. That's what we entomological types like to call it, the insect apocalypse, because we have a well-documented decrease in insect numbers that's been going on approximately 30 years. It was first noticed by the Germans and also some British authors, and they had a remarkably simple device for creating their study, which they called a splatometer. And a splatometer is about the size of a license tag. And you put it on your car where the license tag is, and you simply drive around it. And this splatometer has a number of tiny wires across it. And it sets off an electric charge every time there's a splat of an insect on the tag. So the Germans and also an article by the Brits studied over time the available insects, and it has decreased at least in Europe by almost 70% in 30 years. So it's been a remarkable decline. And myself, I have viewed at least the British countryside, and it's hard to see a butterfly there for me. It's sparse pickings, especially compared to Spartanburg County, for instance. Not only, though, before we leave that, not only did it take the splatometer to prove this, but I can remember in Spartanburg County in the summer when you could hardly drive your car without stopping in the filling station every now and then and cleaning the windshield in summer. You just couldn't see through it. And any respectable filling station had those scrapers and the fluid to get them off. I mean, you had to have them. As a youth, that's the way it was. Now the filling stations still have them, but you might clean your windshield off 2 or 3 times a summer, maybe, if that. It's subjectively, even that is decreased, I believe, in our area, so that's our local equivalent of a splatometer. So anyway, what has caused this habitat, this decline? And the main thing, I believe, is habitat loss, which is to say development. In Spartanburg County, we have seen our population increase from the year 1900, when we had 65,000 people in Spartanburg County. That's 65,000. And today, in 2023, we have 341,000 people in Spartanburg County. That's 5 times as many people. And when you look at the loss of green space, it has been remarkable. I don't know if any of you have used that little internet program. It's right at the top of the Google screen, but it is it's called Google Earth, and you can click on it. And those of you who've seen it, a big globe of the Earth comes up, and then it'll rotate around, and it'll take you exactly to your hometown or anywhere else in the world you want to look at. And you can zoom down so much that I can easily pick out our house from outer space by visiting Google Earth. So what I have gotten out of Google Earth is looking at Spartanburg County, and Spartanburg County has been overcome with development. In fact, there are no large unbroken tracts of land remaining except for, does anybody know what the big tract is? Croft, exactly right, Camp Croft. Camp Croft is the only spot. But otherwise, we've lost all our land. If you go further out of Spartanburg County and out of our area, near that escarpment where you begin to climb the mountains when you go west on I-26, and you see Table Rock over way far to the left, and and that escarpment we meet has not been developed. You'll see some green areas there, but otherwise it's Campcroft and then that. So the insects, they can't, they don't have enough territory to populate in their normal fashion. What we've replaced it with is the new green space. And the new green space is your lawn or my lawn. And a typical lawn, I think, is an insect wasteland. And the reason I say that is because it is an example of monoculture. When you take all those seeds, those fescue seeds, for instance, and you scatter them, and you've got tens of thousands of identical little plants coming up. They're all identical, which is very unnatural. In any kind of natural landscape, there's all manner of insects plants in a small area. Even a square yard could yield 40, 50 different plant species. But you don't get that in a lawn. And the more beautiful the lawn is, the more sterile it is. The ones you see that are really green and, all perfect. It's the best ones, in my mind, are the ones that have those patches of clover in them. Of course, many homeowners would not agree with that, but it gives the insects something, and at any rate, there has been, my daughter did a little research on the internet and found whole groups of landscape designers and people who have begun to create lawns made of multiple species of clover and other more naturalistic ground cover. It's actually rather beautiful, and I hope that there'll be a movement toward that sort of thing and away from the more sterile lawn. But that's one problem with it. I want to make sure I don't run over time-wise, but another big thing, in addition to the lawns, are, of course, pesticide use, the use of insecticides, and the neonicotinoids are the nicotine-like insecticides, but they are lethal to insects, and they are merciless killers of all insects. There's no differentiation of harmful versus helpful insect. They kill them all. And we need to get away from the nicotinoid insects, or rather the nicotinoid insecticides. Instead, there are now other techniques of what's called integrated pest management, which involves crop rotation that farmers can do that won't allow one insect species to get totally out of control, coupled with the use of light traps, like you see many people have around their houses, which actually can, be quite sophisticated and successful. Then there are, one of my favorites are the pheromone traps. And pheromones are the word for an insect's sexual hormone, which they release into the atmosphere, and that's the way they attract a mate in many cases. And scientists have duplicated in the laboratory these pheromones and have mass produced them. And if you release them in an agricultural site, it throws all the insects into a complete, mess. They can't, the boys can't find the girls and vice versa. So anyway, that's a good way of insect control as well, and will decrease in populations. A final thing I would just like to mention briefly is about climate change. I personally don't believe that the world getting warmer is going to hurt insect populations. And the reason I say that is because insects like it warm. For instance, there are no insects in Antarctica. And there are not very many insects around in the winter in Spartanburg either, for that matter. So they like warm weather. And they also like, well, plants that they depend on, they like increasing levels of carbon dioxide. It actually makes plant growth more. So I think what you will see, with my personal opinion, with global warming is an increase in insects, not a decrease. But of course, it might be far offset by development and other things. Anyway, so as a final parting note, try to promote some insect habitat in your own yard. You know, consider this mixed lawn idea, or perhaps plant a local food plant, like, for instance, the tulip poplar tree that's plentiful in our area. Many people have them in their yard. We do. But the tulip poplars are the food plant for the tiger swallowtail, which is, you know, our showy, beautiful butterfly. So if you have a tulip poplar in your yard, you will have tiger swallowtails. And so give a thought to that, and minimize the use of insecticides as best you can. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And I have one of those, Bob and I have one of those lawns that is mixed. It's not a sterile mono sort of lawn, right, Bob? We have a variety. So the Homeowners Association might think otherwise, but we've done something right. Yes. As we've listened to what Steve had to say, and we deal with the changes that we are experiencing, not only in the environment, but the changes that we experience in our lives, the joys, the concerns, I now invite everyone to step to the altar once again, take a pebble or two, and drop the pebble one by one into the vase of water. And as the pebble drops to the bottom, we see bubbles forming and heading to the surface. Those are our prayers being sent out into the ethers, into the universe, into the world. And as we sit and wait and watch, we remain present to the prayers of each and every person who steps up and drops their prayer pebbles. These prayers are offered in silence, but our hearts are joined around this circle when our prayers are being offered. Will you join me in singing All Shall Be Well? All shall be well. All shall be well. All manner of things shall be well. All shall be well. A portion of our offering this evening has been designated for Hatcher Garden and Woodlands, honoring Steve for sharing his creative energy with us. We appreciate and honor you, sir. As everyone in this circle knows, it is because of you, each one of you, that we gather together again and again and again. It is your time, your talent, and your treasure. So I'm going to ask Donna and Sandy if they would pass around our offering stars, and Peter is again going to serenade us. We are so grateful for your support and that you're here this evening worshiping with us. If you will join me again in Ubi Caritas. Ubi Caritas et amor. Ubi Caritas Deus ibi est. Live in charity and steadfast love. Live in charity. God will dwell with you. A little differently this evening, we are going to remain seated for the first part of the invocation of the four directions, and then David will invite us to stand when we begin facing east. David and Rita.
The Great One went into the first world, and out of it he created her who was to remain on the earth as his helper. Her name was Kanakwati, the spider woman. When she awaked to life and received her name, she asked, "Why am I here?" "Look around you," the Great One said. "Here is the earth that we have created. It has shape and substance, direction and time, a beginning and an end, but there is no life upon it. We see no joyful movement. We hear no joyful sound. What is life without sound and movement? So you have been given the knowledge, the wisdom, and the love to bless all the beings you create. That is why you are here."
Spider Woman took some earth and mixed it with saliva and molded it into two beings. She sang the creation song over them. When she uncovered them, the two beings, twins, sat up and asked, "Who are we? Why are we here?" Spider Woman told one they were here to help keep the world in order when life is put upon it. "Go into the world and send out a sound so that it may be heard throughout the land. Your name will also be known as Echo, for all sound echoes the Creator." The other twin was given the charge to keep the world in order when life is put upon it by putting their hands upon the earth so that it will be solidified. This is your duty. The whole world was made and it was good. After creating all that there is in life, the Great One looked over what had been created and said, "It's very good. It is now ready for human life. The final touch to complete my plan." We burn sage to thank Spider Woman and all the goodness she has brought to us. Sister Sage has been given healing powers in her smoke. The buffalo drum beats the heartbeat of our dear mother, the earth, which is a part of creation's song. The flute touches our heart, and we know we are a part of the goodness of creation. All sound echoes the Creator. Please stand and face to the east.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the East remind us that every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, and a name. Those with no legs, 2 legs, 4 legs, 6 legs, 8 legs, and hundreds of legs are all a part of the goodness of creation. All together, roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The spider and the butterfly and the ant are all our friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle in a hoop that never ends.
Quarter turn to the right, facing to the south. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the South ask us to listen to the echo of creation all around us. Listen to the wind, listen to the birds, listen to the crickets, and know you are hearing the voice of God herself. All together, roll in all the riches all around you, and for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are our brothers. The spider and the butterfly and the ant are our friends. We are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. A quarter turn to the right, facing to the west.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the West are so very excited and humbled that we are willing to honor the four directions of our sacred mother, the earth. All together, roll in all the riches all around you, and for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are our brothers. The spider and the butterfly and the ant are our friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends.
Quarter turn to the right, facing to the north. The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the North tell us of an ancient story about a young man who was so sad he did not know who his father was. On one fine day, the son, when he was coming home from a long day at work, was asked by the boy, "Who is my father?" And the son replied, "I think I am." All together, roll in all the riches all around you, and for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are our brothers. The spider and the butterfly and the ant are our friends. We are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Facing to the center.
The grandmothers and the grandfathers of the center space want us to look around our sacred circle and see the goodness of creation in every face. It is who we are. All together, roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are our brothers. The spider and the butterfly and the ant are our friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Namaste.
Please pray with me responsively. And though we will extinguish our community candle, we do not extinguish the warmth of community, the spirit of gratitude, the fire of commitment, and our shared compassion during this time together as community. The light of hope, hope for change that brings new blessings into our lives and the lives of those around us, remains and will continue to burn brightly. We carry the light of hope in our hearts until we are together again. Amen.
As we sing our sending out song this evening, I'm going to ask Rita if you would extinguish our community candle for us. We're so glad to have you back. Thank you. Let's everyone stand as we sing together, Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. A couple of things before we adjourn to the refreshment table. We have a fifth Sunday in April this month, so there are 2 Sundays between our next gathering in May. So enjoy a Sunday off, but also don't forget where we need to be on the 14th of May, Mother's Day. And I leave you with these words of benediction. May the great, vulnerable, life-giving Spirit guide our every coming and our every going, that we may act justly, love kindly, and walk humbly as God's friend and companion on this lovely, lively planet. Amen. And we want to spend time welcoming the Harleys and also thanking them for their graciousness. Steve, it was wonderful. And don't forget the butterflies. Let's go have some of Sandra's tasty treats.